I'm Allie with Potomac Beads, and today's Better Beader episode is going to touch on making your own rings, whether or not that's perfect circle rings, jump rings, split rings, and some tips, techniques, when to and not to make your own designs. I've touched on this a little bit in some other videos, but wanted to make sure to composite it all into this Better Beader episode. So there's a lot of great beading techniques and designs that are utilizing a ring shape out of wire. Whether or not this is something like a jump ring that can open and close, a perfect circle ring, which does not have an opening or closing, or even a split ring, think keychain ring, where wire wraps around and round, or even like in my necklace where I use it as spacers, kind of coiled round and round. There's a lot of different ways to use and to think about a wire or a metal loop. So what I'm going to start with is talking about actual jump rings. So jump rings, there are kind of that bead weaving, that it's actually chain mail, that instead of actual beads, it's more of a jump ring weaving or woven jump rings together. This is a nice classic one. It's called the Byzantine. And some of these projects, it is going to be very, very important that you get specific size rings for the inner diameter of the rings or the space interior to make sure that they fit together to hold their shape in whatever way you are manipulating or turning them. There's other designs where it doesn't really matter as much, like this dancing donuts here, that you can use a couple different sizes. For things like this project, you can make your own. For things that are Byzantine related or jewelry made like that, I would recommend actually ordering the rings already done. However, some people get really crafty. I'll reach over to the side, and I have here a drill. Some people actually even take a drill here, just like this rigid drill, and put in basically the wire into their drill on a drill bit longer than this and actually spin the drill bit. When you spin it, you can see I'm spinning softly and slowly here. The wire actually, if you viced a grip basically in there along with your bit, you could actually turn the wire along there and you make some nice jump rings. Now you can do this by hand as well. You don't need a power tool to be able to do that. And if you are doing Byzantine and want to do that, I would recommend a jeweler's saw. Check that out on YouTube, how to make your own perfect jump rings. The idea with this is that you want to make that cut nice and straight, not having it overlap at all, and that usually takes a jeweler's saw, especially if you want to do it the nice and simple way of working with a drill. I'm going to show you the way to have and to make these jump rings, where not necessarily do they need to be incredibly perfect. They can be something like this dancing donuts. So switching over here to a little bit of a dark surface, that way you can see the wire a little better as I do these Wire Better Beater episodes. We have a couple tools sitting here, including my favorite, a pen. It can be whatever size you want. You want to make sure that the shaft of the pen is going to be the same size the whole way around. It allows you to do more of those jump rings in a row. I have the nylon jaw pliers in the round nose shape to show you that as you do here, you can actually create your own bead cone because the wire is going to get smaller or bigger as you wrap around. I also have a bail making pliers here to show you again how to kind of grade that. The only thing to be careful is that you want to make sure it's rounded in the middle. So there's some 20 gauge wire here, which if you're doing jump rings, I would recommend no thinner than 20 gauge. I would recommend even a 16 and an 18. And you're going to take your pliers and give a nice cut. When you cut this, you want to make sure to flip it around and take that flat side of your wire cutters and cut off that extra little bit that went to the back, and make sure each side you're starting with that flat edge. From here, super simple, don't need any tools. Grab the pen. You can even grab a Bic pen if you want. You're just going to hold the wire and start turning. You'll notice I leave a little bit of a lip, and I'm trying to get the wire nice and close, and this is going to be a tinned copper covered here. And you can see I can get those coils really, really nice and close. Go back, take it off. Now obviously I'm going to have a little bit of waste on this, and I'm going to cut the jump rings so that way I'm cutting right down along the line. I'm going to cut 2 at a time and no more. And when I go back in to take apart these jump rings, I'm going to make sure to kind of file these edges down or to make sure that they're nice and flush, using a pliers to cut off both sides, making them nice and even. That's how you're going to make your own jump rings. Again, you can do this with that nylon jaw pliers if you want to. And you can even make your own split rings. So here with the nylon jaw, you'll notice as I push in there, I'm turning the nylon jaw pliers around themselves, kind of coiling around here to get my nice coil. Again, if you want to, you can create split rings as well. The split rings are going to be basically 2 turns around. So what you'll do is you'll go in, separate out the wire like that, go in here, and cut off the extra after 1 loop. That's going to give you a nice split ring. Again, I can bend that down or take that off, and you can also see here that ring also gives you a nice big figure 8. Now this 20 gauge wire is going to be too flimsy to actually support one that size, but it's nice and easy to bend to show you. I would recommend a 16 gauge if you are doing rings this large. The smaller ones here, the 20, will stay nice and easy for you. Same deal, you can take those round nose pliers, these bail making pliers, and make different size rings as well. The most important thing when making these rings is that you have a nice flush cutters and that you're going to get that cut as nice as possible. So when you open the jump ring and close it back up, they go to meet one another perfectly, that they're not going to open and basically lose anything out of them. So I've brought into screen here kind of one that's a little wild, crazy example of some wire working and making your own jump rings. Basically, there's those eye pins on the end of some thicker wire. You can see the coil here was used as a spacer. Coiled wire, coiled around another set of wire, will give you even more. Again, it's those jump rings, just not cut apart. And again here, going in and creating, like I said, that end cone, wrapping around a bead and creating the end cone on the other side. So there's lots of different options that you don't need to cut apart your little coils of your jump rings when you're working with it. The other thing that I want to go over is how to create basically that perfect circle ring. So we have the perfect circle rings that I had spoken about, and we've used them in a lot of designs, kind of going back and forth. I happen to have one of Bridget's here, kind of going back and forth. I've used them in a number of different areas as well. But what happens if you don't have the perfect circle? What you want to do is carry around a ruler with you, find something in that round shape, and start there. Something in that diameter or gauge in the round shape, and I'm going to show you how we're going to make that perfect circle without needing to actually solder and close off the ends. So finding the perfect size ring that you need, say you want to make the dahlia pendant and you don't have the ring, what you can do is find something that's going to be that diameter. So here I have a tube of lipstick. It's nice because it is incredibly round the whole way around. Now, I'm going to start with a bigger gauge. This here is 18 gauge, and I'm wrapping around just as if I'm making those coil jump rings as well. I'm going to wrap around 2 times to make sure my loop is actually right and there. You'll notice I have a fair amount of end, or a starting space, and what I'm going to do is take a needle nose pliers here and bend that up so it's at a 90-degree angle. That little piece is going to be helpful. What I'm going to do now is cut off this extra wire, making sure that it goes just a little bit past where that loop is. So I've got about 1/4 inch, and I'm cutting off so I have that loop. So you can see it's kind of the start of a split ring, or that keychain style. I'm going to take and make sure that I keep this size by putting it back on whatever my form is. And you're going to take this extra wire now, and you're going to coil this extra wire right along the top 1 time of that piece. This will give you an opportunity to really make sure that you stay within that range. Now I have extra wire. If you want to, you could keep coiling around. I'm just going to go in here and chop off that extra wire. Go in, tighten in that loop around here, and you are to size. So I know that that's the exact size that I need to make here of that about 20 millimeter ring that I wanted to make. So from here, obviously, I'm not soldering, so I don't have that nice clean edge. But most designs, you can play around, and you need an ear wire, say, that you want to do this as an earring. Look, you can build in. Check out that last Better Beader episode. Bend around my pen, and I've got that built-in ear wire right away. So there's my earring form that I can decorate. The other thing for that endless ring that I can do is take this wire here that I bent to 90 degrees, bend it a little bit to the side, grab those nylon jawl or just regular round nose pliers, and bend a loop around to make my bail. Normally, again, I'm going to have to add a bail anyway, so this takes care of that place of adding. With this 18 gauge wire, you can wrap around, or if you're connecting to a piece of leather or cording, you can just cut right along there and close it up. This gives you that perfect circle ring without having to have it on hand. So whether or not you're making jump rings or you're making split rings or you're making those perfect circle rings, there's a number of different options to take the metal from its raw spool here and create with the raw spool with just a couple tools. You can see I really did utilize household items of some lipstick. I have nail polish chops that I wrapped around. Even a full bead container will work well to get you that 11 millimeter size if you need to work with that. So keep in mind, have a ruler handy, kind of measure what you need and create those. The best thing that I can say is if you are doing that Byzantine style jewelry where you need the rings to be exact, make sure you are making them and find the exact size. And you don't want just a regular pair of wire cutters. You want those double flush wire cutters that you can make sure that you have two sides that are completely flat, or make sure you're changing out the pliers so the spot that is left on the actual ring is going to be nice and flat. I would recommend, again, checking out some videos on a jeweler's saw and seeing how that works, that basically you can hold those coils in place that you made and then take those coils that you've made, whether or not they're kind of really big or really small, and cut right down the center, folding open those pieces and making them into jump rings. Again, the Better Beader episodes, the real idea is that this enhances your knowledge about jewelry making, whether or not it's seed beading, whether or not it's actually doing the jump ring jewelry, or just being a novice and looking to do some repair. Hopefully this video helped you a little bit to gain more knowledge, which I think this is one of those things that's essential to know, and it starts to usually click on kind of a light bulb that you understand how the rings are made, how they are put together, and the important steps of making and keeping them. The other thing that I have here that I didn't touch on that I did last week in the Better Beader is making sure that you have a hammer on hand. If you want to, especially that perfect circle ring that I made, you can go into that perfect circle ring and hammer it down to get a nice flat edge on a stainless steel block. So again, if you need any supplies or you want to check out any of the other Better Beader episodes, you can also check out the link below me in the descriptions to PotomacBeads.com as well as PotomacBeads.eu. Also hit that little bell in the corner. If you hit the little bell in the corner there, the nice thing is you get regular updates from us here at Potomac Beads when we have new products, new examples, new ideas, as well as Better Beader episodes to keep you informed. Thanks so much for watching, everyone, and enjoy making your own jump rings, endless circle rings, or even split rings.